I want to like The Matrix Reloaded. You know, it's a sequel to a movie that I grew up watching a ton of times. I love the original Matrix movie. But for some reason, Matrix Reloaded just never resonated with me. And after rewatching it again, this movie still just doesn't click for me at all. It has certain elements that I like, but the majority of the stuff I just don't care for at all. I think The Matrix Reloaded is the most... It's a very boring movie. I'll say that. It's very boring. It's more pretentious than the original one ever was. This movie has got so many plot points going on that you can't keep track. This thing overloads you with so many characters that you just don't care about the majority of them. Let's go. I want to go over the things I actually do like first. Number one, cinematography by Bill Pope is fantastic. This is a well-shot, good-looking movie. That same aesthetic the Wachowskis and Pope brought to the first film bleeds over into the second film, so that aesthetic is still the same. You still get that cyberpunk comic book-like feel to the series, which is fantastic. It makes it look unique. No, the acting for the most part is solid. Lawrence Fishburne is still awesome as Morpheus. Keanu Reeves still kicks ass as Neo. Carrie-Anne Moss is still a badass as Trinity, and you got some new additions who do an okay job as well. Some are better than most, but hey, it's whatever. The action scenes are well choreographed. This movie has got really well choreographed action scenes, I'll give it that. And it also has some very fun action scenes to look at as well. That's about it for all the positives. Let's get on to the negatives. Number one, as I said, the story of this movie is all over the place. I have no clue what's happening at all. And for some reason, Agent Smith, who dies in the first movie, is back in this movie. And the reasoning for him being resurrected is so godforsaken confusing, it's hard to even process it. Make a long story short, by Neo killing Agent Smith, he unplugged him. And Smith does this drawn-out speech where you're just confused and you just don't care, and you just want to be like, tut, 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 hey, Junior. Another thing I don't care for. Like I said before, this movie's got so many characters, you just don't care about any of them. You have this useless character called the Keymaker, who was literally just there to do an overblown action scene on the freeway. And the action in that freeway scene, while it is fun to watch, it is so overblown and so cartoony, it's ridiculous to watch it. It could be ridiculous to watch. You get this character called the Merovingian, played by some Frenchie. And again, he is a superfluous character who means absolutely nothing to the plot at all. He has this overblown speech about causality, and it literally takes the guy 5 minutes to say, you can't have the Keymaker, but I'll bore you with the speech. Come on. Not to mention what he said, I just didn't care at all, because it's nauseating. Having smart dialogue is one thing. Having overly pretentious dialogue to the point where you just don't want to hear these people talk is another thing. Speaking of which, when people talk in this movie, they don't develop character. They're not developing their characters. They're not developing any relationships. They're too busy philosophizing and talking down to you like they're preachers. This does not feel like a movie. This feels like the Wachowski brothers going on their pulpit and just preaching to you their ideals, and you're just like, can you please tell me? Can you please get me invested in this story? I mean, this movie has something going with it, you know, with Neo being the one. I thought they were going to expand on Neo being the one and actually see him struggle with and coping with being the one while also trying to maintain a relationship with Trinity. Nope, none of that happened. You know, we get introduced to Zion, and I like the look of Zion. It looks cool. I thought we were gonna actually live in Zion for the majority of this movie, but no, we don't. We don't see nothing. You know, we see the council. We don't care because they just spew out nonsense that you just don't care about. Like, this movie has some good elements, but it's too busy preaching to you that it doesn't want to like actually be a movie first. It wants to be, like I said, it wants to be the Wachowskis preaching to you their ideals instead of being a movie, which is nauseating. And the action scenes. They are well choreographed, but they're also so nauseating to watch. That Neo versus 1000 Smith scene, it is stupid, it is dumb. I don't care. It is boring to watch. I got bored watching it because it just wouldn't end. And now, in most cases, in some cases, the CGI in this movie is really well done. In other cases, it looks like you're watching a PS3 come to life. It looks like you're watching PS2 or Xbox come to life. That's how cheap and cheesy they look looking back at it now. They haven't aged well at all. The dialogue in this movie is, again, pretentious. And speaking of pretentious, this movie goes to a grinding, screeching halt when you're introduced to this character called the Architect. And it's revealed that he created the Matrix and blah, 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 and you're just like, can you fucking speed up already to the end? Again, this movie, it has so many good things going for it, but it's just so overblown and boring. The one thing this movie had that what hooked my interest was that the opening scene, we see Trinity die, and it ends up being a dream that Neo has. And throughout the movie, they kind of play up the fact that Neo is, starting to get paranoid and does not want Trinity to die, obviously. But when we get to the end, Trinity dies. Okay, I like this. Neo just resurrects her. He heals her heart. You had one thing, movie. You had one thing going for it, and you didn't give me a satisfying payoff. You gave me a fucking stupid payoff. Trinity had no business surviving this movie. I would have killed her off. I would have added so much more to Neo's character. Now let's wrap this blue. And let's go back to Agent Smith, who has found a way to copy himself. Whatever. He copies this guy named Bane, and we find out that Smith as Bane pulled an EMP on one of the ships. The ship's crashed. It knocks out Neo, and he ends up being in Nowheresville. I don't know. He ends up being plugged. Neo is in a coma. Bane's in a coma. And it's just a clunky way to lead into Matrix Evolutions, and that's it. I don't care. So yeah, at the end of the day, Matrix Reloaded, I want to like it, but I just can't bring myself to like it. It's I'll say this, it's above average. It does have good things going for it, but the movie's too busy preaching to you that it forgets that that's an actual movie. At the end of the day, Matrix Reloaded, to me, I'm going to be generous, because I do like it. I do like some of it. And even though a lot of the movie is boring, it does have some exciting moments to it. With the exception of this really random scene where there's a rave going on and it's going back and forth to Trinity and Neo going at it like rabbits. So I'm just going to give Matrix Reloaded a 6 out of 10. It's a 6 out of 10. It's above average. It ain't better than the first. It has some stupid stuff in it, but it has some okay things in it. But it's just not as good as the first movie. So yeah, those are my thoughts on The Matrix Reloaded. If you like The Matrix Reloaded, let me know in the comment sections below. If you're like me and don't really care for The Matrix Reloaded, I want to know that as well. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.